to me later on. If you want to reach out to me later, if you have questions. I am a resource for you, but obviously I'm not the only resource. So let's go to the next slide. And this is information I've already kind of alluded to. Just use the regular Zoom information. The recording is going on. But I did want to let you know, if you've looked through the handouts, you'll see that there's a slide after each regular slide. There's a slide specifically for questions and discussion. And so if you've got a question and you want to hold off and do it, because we will do those at once, hopefully that will be helpful to everyone. Also, I'm going to say I am not the expert on area director. I've done it, but I know that everybody's a little bit different, and there may be some other perspectives that you want to hear that you can compare to what I've shared with you, and that will not hurt my feelings at all. Just wanted to share that. And another reminder, it looks like I'm seeing only me, but it may be different. If I say something and you roll your eyes about it, somebody else might see it. So make sure you remember that. Patty, if you could flip to the next slide, please. This is what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Basically, why do we have area directors? What will I do as an area director? How can I succeed in the area director role? And what is next? Now, this presentation is 2 hours. It's a night for you to pick the brains of not just me, but other people as well. And then I know that there are a couple of other area directors who have done it before, who are in your group. So they will also be helpful to you. Next slide, please. First off, let me just say that you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, this is obvious. But as we talk about these reasons why we have area directors, I want you to think about connections that are so important. We've got the district, the division, the area, the club, and the members. And there are connections for all of those. So do think about that when you're serving in this role. The other thing I want to remind you about is that we are building members, clubs, areas, divisions, and districts with quality materials. They might be different. You might be building with wood, cement, rock, but everybody's quality material. So as you are working, you are quality material, and those people you are working with are also quality material. I'll quickly touch on these, and I know there are some other areas that you really want to get into tonight, but I'll talk a little bit about this just because it's a reminder. How do the area directors benefit the district? Well, first off, if the area directors are getting out there into the field and making those connections and doing their jobs, they are helping build a stronger district. The club members become stronger because of your connection with them. The clubs with those stronger members become stronger. The members find opportunities because you're going to the club and you're talking to these clubs about things that are going on. The members find out about things they might not have known. And then there may be leadership opportunities for both you in the district as well as members of those clubs. And I don't know if there's anybody else attending this that wants to speak up and mention other things that you would say with the district. Feel free to take yourself off mute and mention something. Okay, well, maybe we'll catch you on the next slide. The benefits to the area clubs. We talked about the clubs becoming stronger. If clubs are out there on their own and they're just kind of, I think I know what I'm doing, then they are going to flounder. But you are going to help build those stronger clubs. And then you are going to learn ways to show the members what they can do so that the members can help one another within those area clubs. So the members themselves are excited to meet the Toastmaster leaders. That's you, as well as other Toastmaster leaders as they start getting involved in various different activities. Another thing that you're going to bring to the club members is helping them understand about the Toastmaster structure. I know it was a while before I got the idea of it wasn't just members in a club and here's Toastmasters International. And I think that becomes a benefit to them. Oh, I get it. So there are more people out there that can help me. I thought that was something that was interesting to me when I joined. And then there's the whole concept of they learn, oh, I could do some of these things that would be an opportunity for my growth. Maybe there's someone who gets the idea that the area director is doing things that maybe they want to do in their own field of work. And then finally, for you, the benefits for you, your own growth. Think about it in a few months. See, oh, wow, look at what I've already accomplished, what I've already done, what I've already learned. And that's your opportunity for growth. Plus, as an introvert, it's good for me to say to you, it's good to meet other Toastmasters. Just to kind of go off a little bit, I worked on fighting breast cancer back in 2018. And my support group was amazing. It was built of people from church, my family, and Toastmasters. There were so many people who just really helped me be a stronger person. And so I think just meeting other Toastmasters, when you think about, here's my club, that's great, but there are so many members, and now we can go international, right? If you're on a Zoom with someone in another country, you're definitely meeting other Toastmasters. And then as you go out to these clubs to help them and to visit with them and to answer questions for them, you will find something in their meetings and you will say, oh, I love that idea. And you're going to come back to your club, or maybe it's something that you personally can implement. So those are some of the benefits to keep in mind as you're performing this role. That's an exciting year ahead of you. Patty, if you could switch slides. Does anyone have any questions specifically about that? Like I said, it's kind of, yes, I understand, it's obvious, but maybe there was something I said with that. Okay, we're good to go. What will I do as an area director? First off, you get to go to the District 11 Council meeting. Those meetings are going to be different now than they were when I was there, because we all met in a room, no masks. There was a contest about who brought the most amazing food, and we did business. It's not going to be the same, but you will find that it's very helpful to be a part of that meeting. First off, when I say attend, it's not just attend, but actually be there. Bring yourself and focus. In fact, this thing here, your phone, don't spend time on that when you're in the meeting. You want to make sure that you're really learning things. Bring questions. This is the place to ask questions of people who are in the know. There are a lot of things they know. There are a lot of things they can help you with. Or maybe you ask a question and they don't have the answer, but they know the person that can help find the answer. Definitely ask questions. And I may be hitting on this a lot, you know, meeting other Toastmasters, but take time to network. How many of you have run a speech contest before? Okay, some of you have. Can you do it by yourself? It's not a good idea. It may be that the areas will want to get together, a few of them, or have separate contests, but help one another. So make sure you're networking at those meetings. Now, for the club visits, I'm going to talk in more detail later about the club visits, but think about your club visit beforehand. There are things you're going to have to do before you even head to that club, before you even connect up with them. Then there's going to be a list of what you need to do during the meeting when you're at that club's meeting. And then finally, there are actions you're going to have to take after your visit. So the whole concept of being there is good for that as well. Now, Diane has thrown out a question: how often are district council meetings? Rick, you would be able to answer that better than I would.
The next district council meeting is September 10th. There's usually only two. So the second one would be during the spring convention.
Thank you. And I guess I'm sharing with you that I may have had something else in my head, but I know we used to meet every other month. Is that the same, or is that different?
That's the deck. The district elected council includes area directors and division directors, whereas the district council includes area directors, division directors, and VPEs and presidents of the clubs.
Okay, so somebody wins a prize for finding the thing I have wrong so far in my slide. It should have been the deck, not the district council meeting, but actually it's both, right?
Yes.
Thank you for your help, Rick. And then there's another challenge: communication with clubs. How many of you have in the past week miscommunicated with someone in your family, at work, in the grocery store? Communication with clubs is going to provide you with some interesting challenges. We'll talk more in detail about how to do it later, but you want to share the District 11 news, Toastmasters dates. And this is something that I have discovered, not just with Toastmasters, but with other organizations. Assume that the other person does not know what you know. They don't have that information. I'll tell you, I'm finding that in church is there's a committee, they meet, and then they all assume that, oh yeah, didn't we tell you about that already? I recently learned about a security process for church, and I'm a key holder for church. And it had been in place since 2018, and I didn't know about it. And oh, by the way, my husband, he has a key for church, and he didn't know about it either. So don't assume that someone knows the answer, but don't talk down to them. You know, if they say, well, I already had that answer. It's an interesting balance, but remember, they possibly are getting the information that they need from you. So make sure you share it. And then communication with clubs needs sharing suggestions. Sometimes you're giving them information that they need, and other times you're going to say, hey, you might want to consider this just based on my experience. That's something that's helpful to them. Now, I did say area contest is something you are going to do as an area director. You are going to have to make sure that these contests are done. You may give someone an opportunity to do a project and actually hold the area contest and coordinate it, but it's on your plate. It's your responsibility. And there will be some training that will take place at the next one that will give you a lot of details on that. That is definitely not my strong suit. Patty, if you could go ahead and give us the next slide. I know that we had some chat questions. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to comment on or ask about the previous slide, those questions? What will I do? And that's the high level, what will I do?
I have a question, and this is probably a simple question that everybody else knows, but what is like how are we communicated to? Where do we get District 11 news? Is that something that's communicated regularly, or you give us that information, or how does that work?
That is an excellent question. Yes, you should not ever assume that anybody knows anything. I think that your division director will be communicating with you, but District 11 also has the wonderful website, and you can sign up to get information from it. You can also go out to the website to get information. Oh, I haven't heard anything about such and such. I'm going to check. But I'm sure that there's an official way to do that. And Rick probably has some ideas about that, as well as Patty.
You hit on exactly the right points. On the other hand, and there's a lot of outbound email that goes out from the district to the individuals that are district officers like yourselves. But the main point of contact, if you have questions, you need help fast, should be your division director. Make direct contact with them, and they'll do what they can to find out what questions you might have about things.
Thanks, Rick. Patty, did you want to add anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, you know, a lot of the answer depends. It's my favorite answer, is it depends. So there's multiple ways to find out information. The first one is that whenever there is something new going on, our current public relations manager will post something on the website in the news section. And if you were signed up with the district website, it will come to you. So you will be notified of that. Second thing is, if you have a Facebook or LinkedIn account, please, please, please connect with us on District 11. And also the Division H for the area directors in Division H as well. So that is another place to find out information. Third place is email, of course. Emails will come to you from Rick, from Mark, from your division director, depending on what it is. So make sure that your emails are getting emails. Make sure that you're signed up for the District 11 website. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm just going to take this one. Do we have access to TI's District Central yet? You should at this point in time. I have checked it to see if the realignment is now showing on the TI website, and it was for Division H. So I will just answer that.
There's also a part 2 to that question.
Okay, and when there is a time conflict with an area director formal visit, may we designate someone to attend in our place? Absolutely. So that is what we're talking about, teamwork. One person doesn't have to do it all. But make sure whoever that is that doing it, that you have discussed what the expectations are for that visit. And also, if you have any issues with getting your reports up and into the system, make sure and work with your division director on that as well.
Thanks, Patty.
I also have a question, and I think I know the answer to this. When you have somebody go for you to take care of your visit and, check on how things are going, you are still the one responsible for submitting the report, because that person cannot submit that report. You are the only one that can. Is that correct?
My understanding is that your division director can submit reports on your behalf, but another area director would not be able to.
Okay, that was what I was thinking. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Laura. Any other questions?
Yeah, that question makes it sound like there is a set date that we're supposed to go visit each of these clubs. I assumed we would have some flexibility with that and to coordinate with the clubs. Is that not the case?
You have flexibility, but it's possible that there's a club that meets on a day and time where for the whole entire outdoor
Oh, I see.
semester.
Okay,
But you do have a date that's a deadline. I don't
Okay.
know, I don't have that in front of me. But there is a deadline where you have to have your visits completed and your reports turned in.
okay.
Laura, can I explain my reason for the question?
Sure.
I asked the question because I work during the day and one of my clubs meets at noon every other Wednesday. So I would have to designate somebody to attend in my stead
hmm
if I did not have time off for vacation to do the area director visit.
Thanks, Jeannie. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ask Patty to give us the next slide. And if you need to come back to a question that's similar to what you were going to ask. Oh, and Patty's put the deadline in November 30th. Thanks, Patty. All right, now what you've all wanted, success, right? You want to succeed in this area director role. Why? Because you care about all these other people. You care about these clubs. You care about these members. What is success to you? So I'm going to list some things, but these are not all inclusive. And you're going to prioritize them different than somebody else. But define success for yourself as the area director. Do you want to have a distinguished area? Or are you just hoping to be able to help each club grow? You're going to have to decide where your requirements for success lead you. What is the success for the area clubs that you are reaching out to? Some of them may say, we want to be President's Distinguished this year. We want your help in us getting there. Well, if they weren't distinguished at all before, that's going to be a challenge. But they have defined success for themselves, And you're going to try to figure out a way to help them become successful. And what about the members in those clubs? You have members who have their own goals set for themselves. And there may be a way for you as an area director to help some of those members become successful. Maybe there's a new member who has a fear of speaking, and you may be able to encourage that person. Hey, don't worry about it, just XYZ. And they may feel that that was a successful time for them. Now, how are you going to succeed in these club visits? And that is a challenge. And I will tell you, again, I put on my introvert hat. Oh my gosh, I had to go see a bunch of people I did not know. I had to walk into that meeting that I had never attended before. I'm one of those people who also is not comfortable with change. Don't make me do something different. So me serving as an area director was an excellent opportunity for growth for me. So when it comes to club visits, the first thing that you're going to think about is, what kind of preparation do I need to do? First off, it may be to psych yourself up, right? I got to get ready. I got to do this. And then there's that whole reaching out and scheduling your visit. I doubt you're just going to show up. Maybe the club had, decided to meet at a little bit later time. Kind of odd, but, or the room where they normally meet, the door got locked on them and they had to meet somewhere else. They want to know when you're coming. So you're going to reach out to them. And how do you reach out? How will you have the information to contact the club? And this is where I was going to poke Laura with the concept of downloading club memberships. Is that done the same way that you download your own club membership if you're an officer? Do you remember that?
Well, you can go into Club Central and get it, but that'll be just for your own club. If you go into Division Central, okay, you can division, okay, district officer training, yeah, district area director visit reports. Is it under that one? Distinguished performance reports is the one that you want. And that will link you to the distinguished, to the area clubs that you have. You can name a club on it in your area, and then you can create that report and then print it. So that is what, you would do. And we're in club, it's under the distinguished performance report, and that will show where the club stands as of the day that you print that report. Like this will show up, and in here you can go and check whatever area, how you want to do, like club status or division reports. You can go through and find out how everybody is doing across the board. It would be best like you go into your own division, and that would show, what you,
Okay, so hang on, because this is important stuff here, but really where I was going was being able to download their membership list, because I know when I was an area director, I was just downloading the membership list so I could reach out to the officers.
Okay,
myself.
that is under reports, I believe. Yeah, membership report, and that will give you all of the members in your area. They do tell which club they belong to. The clubs will be defined, you know, Club A, Club B, Club C, whatever. And it gives you everything you'd ever want to know about that person. And it is downloaded in like an Excel worksheet form, so you can save it if you'd like, which is something I have done, and break it up, take some of the stuff that's in there out. You can also do just a club officer report from that, and it will give you all the club officers in your area, and it will tell what their office is by club. And that's what I use a lot of to go and contact the members to tell them, hey, I'm coming on such and such a date. I've learned through my past experiences, you don't go and say, hey, what's a good date for me to come? You look to find out when they meet and say, and look at your own personal calendar and find out what would be, oh, I can do this club on this day, this club on that day. And then I send out one big report to all of them and say, hey, this is what I'm going to visit you on the day listed below. If there's any problems, get back with me. That way I can still put it to my convenience, so to speak, but yet it will be also to their convenience. Most of the time it works out fairly well. Occasionally you will have to change the date, but that's just the way it is. So.
Thank you. And Patty, thanks for pulling that up.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Patty.
basically, if you've got that contact information, you can reach out to those clubs and say, like Laura said, hey, I would like to come on this date to visit your club. Well, you're also going to be sharing why you're coming to visit the club. It's not just a, hey, I want to observe your club. So then you're going to also want to share that information before the meeting. You might send them a copy of a blank area report. That way, oh, okay, I get it. I understand what you're trying to tell me. And they can prepare for that. I will say with the downloading of the information, I think that is really very helpful to have. And I'm not sure how you do when you get a phone call or a text from a phone number that you don't know, but you may want to load in your phone the officer information. So when they're reaching out to you or when you want to call them, you've got all that information all ready for you. Now, the other thing that you want to ask ahead of time is for an opportunity to speak with either the club or the officers or both. You may say, hey, I need 3 to 5 minutes during the meeting. And hopefully clubs will be able to offer you that time. You may want to talk about what your area director is doing, why you are there. Maybe you want to give them some feedback on the meeting that's separate from what you would put in that report. But you want to give them a heads up so that they can kind of prepare for it and be ready for that. You may also want to gather up items that you want to hand to them physically if you're going to go physically to that club meeting. For instance, maybe there's a flyer that District 11 has put out about an upcoming event. You can use email, obviously, but if you're handing something to them, if you're actually there, that's something else you want to gather up. Now, during the meeting, you're going to take notes because you've got your area director report blank all ready to fill out. You're also going to try to pay attention during the meeting to be able to suggest things. And again, this goes back to what works for one club might not work for another club, but you can at least suggest, hey, I noticed that you're not doing a poem or a joke at the beginning of the club, and you're kind of at a loss at first. That might be something that would help you. So you've got different suggestions that you can make. And of course, you're a Toastmaster, so you're going to try to do it such that it's not a, hey, this is wrong, but just a suggestion to help them. And then finally, after the visit, you're going to complete that report. You're going to reach back out to that club and thank them for the opportunity to visit with them and to attend their meeting. You are going to think about, well, what were some of the things that I learned in this club meeting to maybe take to your own club or to share with other clubs in your area. So I'm sure you've got other things that you're thinking about that you might want to do. But those are some suggestions of what you want to do after the visit. The other thing that you might want to do is schedule your next visit with them while you're thinking about it. Because I will suggest that you make that club visit as early as possible without being way early, because something's going to happen the day that you were going to meet with that club, whether it's a sick child, overtime at work, a car accident, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen to at least one of you. So I would try to get there as quickly as you can. Don't leave it to the very last date. Now, Toastmasters, shall we talk about communication? I know that District 11 has had some challenges over the years because all of a sudden we were trying to email people. And have you ever tried to send an email out to, okay, Rick, how many members are there or can there be? And you're trying to send an email out to hundreds of people.
Well, there's 98 clubs that are currently active.
Okay, there you go.
So that's a
Yeah.
lot.
So I have a question, Stephanie.
Okay.
So during the visits, that was the most intimidating thing for me. I was area director last term, and the first club I did was the club that I was a member of. This term, I'm with some clubs that aren't even in my area, but that's fine. But so there was a lot of communication ahead of time, just preparing and getting ready. And then I don't know if there's a protocol of how to get everything answered, because I understand that the form that we fill out was actually reduced and it was more streamlined than before I was an area director. But it's still intimidating. It's still a lot of information, and I never really could get all the information. And I think so. Two of the clubs, I think I had four, and the fifth one was suspended. I met two of the clubs. I met with just the officers after the meeting, so there just happened to be time for that. Sometimes there's not. Like, I'm in a corporate club. If you don't schedule it, you don't get it. You know, we're done at a certain time. So it's hard to get all the information. I liked your advice to send the form ahead of time, if there's a way to do that. I know that when I scheduled the meeting with my club, then I was able to print it and kind of have it as my format. I think where I really get messed up was the DCP and some of the plans. How do you know where they are? I wanted to be my vice president of education this time just to learn it better, because I don't get it. I don't always get what's going on. So anyway, I don't know if there's actually a question in there.
I
Sorry.
think that's a brilliant idea to jump into the VP Ed role. Because.
Well,
you
I'm
learn
not.
A lot
Yes,
about that.
maybe
And
next.
it is hard for clubs who they don't have an idea about it. Either they don't have someone who's been in Toastmasters for a while who understands, hey, let's try to do this. Does anybody think that they will have, a level 1 or a level 2 completed, that sort of thing. And
We
you
don't have to
heard
do
that
that.
I'm old school. So I had manuals, and the whole concept of pathways is still intimidating to me. And some people are probably very comfortable with it, but yes, I get that. And sometimes you have to just fill it out the best way that you can.
And that's
But
what I do.
giving it to them ahead of time and then trying to reach out is good. Laura, are you thinking you have a suggestion?
Well, one of the things I was going to suggest, and we've gotten into some other things that are in many ways much more important. But for me, I tend to schedule my visits with the clubs right before dues are due, because that way you can get a good idea on how the club is doing. They pretty well will know what kind of renewals you're going to have, and it'll prepare you to maybe give them some suggestions on some things that they could possibly do, or you'll know all of a sudden, hey, this is going to happen, because it does. That is just basically one of my things that I was going to insert. As far as the sending them a copy of the form that we complete ahead of time is a good idea. One of the things Holly Eustace did, and she gave me a copy of it this is for the old one where which was somewhat of a nightmare in many ways to complete. She had it kind of consolidated into several different questions, send this out to them, get them to answer it, and it was on a Excel spreadsheet. So it really was less intimidating to them. I need to go through and come up with something similar to this for our new format. Because if I send out that particular one now, it doesn't fully apply to the way the questions are asked. And I think it would be better it'd be well done for me to go and find out a better way to present these questions to them. Because like I say, if you send them in a copy of the form, which you can, and I think it is really good to do, it's a matter of this can give them some questions that are less intimidating because it's on an Excel spreadsheet. Hey, how intimidating can that be? We're all used to getting those. And that was my comment that I had.
Thanks, Laura. So I have a suggestion. Linda, you and Laura are going to work together on coming up with that spreadsheet. So that gives you an automatic copy of it. And then you're going to share it with all the other area directors. So
Okay.
that they can give you feedback on it in case they have a suggestion, because we're all different.
Yes.
But then you guys will all have that. I think that's great. Thank you.
So I was going to ask Laura, she seems to be familiar with the Distinguished Club Plan on the website, then when Patty was showing us that information, is it already there?
Yeah.
If they've done it, I mean, should
Well,
we assume that
they
it's
will show what has been submitted to TI. One of the things that happens is, like, I'm going to be doing the secretary treasurer training on the makeup training. One of the things that ends up happening is the person will complete a path. The VPE or whoever is in charge of approving them approves it, but they do not go and report it to TI. And if they don't report it to TI, it's not done. And then when you look at the report, it'll show that I thought for sure that we had 4 people that had completed their first path, and it shows 2. Well, the other 2 had not been submitted to TI, so therefore they met that qualification, but it doesn't show up on their report. So you can suggest to them that, hey, this is what you need to be doing, because that's probably the biggest thing I've encountered is they'll go and approve the path of completion, but they'll forget to go and report it to TI. And like I say, if it isn't reported there, it isn't reported, because pathways and TI do not speak to each other.
Which I think is wonderful. You guys are also safety nets for the clubs, right? All right. One thing I did notice is that James was asking a question back about giving the club a heads up, and he says, why not just pop in and surprise them? And I think that that's a real good point for different personality types. I gotta schedule and plan, and I don't want to surprise anybody. And that's where you use your gifts, your skills to do things a little bit differently. James, do you want to talk about your experience having done that?
It's been a while since I was area director before, and I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
It seemed like sometimes all of a sudden I would just have a gap in my schedule, and I'd go, "Oh, I'm free at noon. Let me go to this noon club. Oh, I'm free Monday night, so let me just go to this." And I'm, so that's kind of, and I don't think I ever had any clubs who were vehemently opposed to it. They may or may not have considered that the official visit, but in my mind, it could if I wanted it to. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, again, you've got to make this work for you and the clubs. And if that works better, then I think going for it. So Diane is asking about the AD visits, the reports, and it's web-based only. And I thought that I found a link that I put in later that is for the club visit form. So that is on page 12 of this PowerPoint. We'll see if that works.
And we should put a suggestion in the suggestion box that on the website itself, I'm following the path to area director visit reports, and there's no mention of a downloadable PDF, and there should be on that page.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Hey, the only way
I have a copy.
the only way I could get it last year is if I actually set up a meeting. So that's why the first meeting I set up was my own club, and then I could change the date if it didn't work out. That was just a way for me to get the report.
I just did that, Linda, but I still don't see a report. It's still walking me through a web-based
Okay.
series of questions.
I've slept since then, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's add
If
that.
anybody wants to go and send an email to me, I have a copy of it downloaded. And I don't remember how I did it. I'm sure I got it off the website somehow or other.
Give us
But-
your email in the chat.
Yeah, can you
Okay.
you
upload that,
email out
Laura?
in the chat, Linda?
Laura, if you send
Laura?
that to me, I can
Laura.
upload it in the chat.
Oh, okay, will do.
Nice. Actually, Laura, I would still like your
I
email
just found
because
it.
Okay, I will
Oh.
put it in the chat after I get this sent to
well, I can't
Patty.
save anything on this computer. I have to go to my desktop or my.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, whatever.
I just put it in the chat, you guys. It's
Oh,
there.
Wow.
thanks, Diane.
I got it from the PowerPoint, so I didn't do anything magic. You said looked at your PowerPoint.
Okay.
thank you.
Just in advance.
All right. So, oh, yes, we were on communication, which we're trying to do an excellent job at, I might add. You guys are doing very well. And my dog is now communicating with me. Go lay down, Chief. So communication, be consistent, be regular with your communication with your clubs. Don't just wait until the last minute and send them something. There are a lot of personalities that don't care for that. Some people are great with it, but think about that. Now, the other thing that I have learned just recently, I will admit all of my children are adults, but when they were younger and they had their cell phones, I discovered that the preference of how to communicate is not the same in the younger crowd. And I don't know if I dare ask, but I just turned 60. So that kind of gives you an idea of where I am. My children are 20s and 30s. And my understanding is if you call someone in that age range that is excessively rude, you're interrupting, it's rude. Don't do it. And if you send them an email, they may not see it for days or weeks or months. And I have tremors. So for me to do texting, which is what that age group usually seems to prefer, is a challenge for me. But I love them, so I do it. I have a niece who's in that same age range, and she's actually come to 2 of my club's Toastmasters meetings, and she's up in Minnesota.
Ah.
And she sent me an email. She said, Mom says you prefer emails, so I'm sending you this email. You're going to have to find out what is best for the officers in your clubs. And then how are you going to deal with that? Because it's not going to be, this is the best way. Although I have no idea what the average age of Toastmasters is. It probably depends. We've got some younger ones in various clubs. But it's not just getting the information out, but how do you get the information out? And I think that's something that our trio is really working on, trying to figure out, okay, if we're putting this stuff out on the website, if we're putting it out in Facebook, in LinkedIn, that sort of thing, they're trying to reach out. But my question is, do you have a TikTok account yet? I mean, TikTok. That really shows my age. Because my youngest is on TikTok all the time. I don't know how you would use it, but I think that's the challenge that we've got in communication, is you've got to figure out the best way to communicate with your clubs and decide with them how you're going to communicate. And maybe what you're going to do is send the email and then create a group text and text to them that said, hey, I just sent an email with the details on XYZ. Who knows? That might work. The other thing is when you're communicating, it's not just, am I speaking to you, but are you hearing me? I'm not just sending these out. Are you getting them? So you're going to want to look for responses. You're going to want to let them answer a question or give you a date. Something that tells you that, hey, they saw my communication. So it is a two-way street. Another suggestion that I had was figure out who your club is going to be, who in your club is going to be the best communicator, and that's your communications rep. Maybe it's the president of the club. Maybe it's the secretary. Or maybe it's somebody who's not even an officer. But make sure that person is on your distribution when you're reaching out to your clubs. Get that person, figure it out, work with them, and let them be the one you communicate with. And then I put on the PowerPoint expectations, yours and theirs. Figure out what you expect and what they expect out of your communication. Now, I served as an area director a number of years ago, but I started writing emails where, oh my gosh, I had a bunch of things in the email that I wanted to say. And I started numbering my sections. 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5. That way, they didn't read that first paragraph on their phone and then think that was all. I don't know if it'll work. You may say, oh, please don't do that to me. That's awful. But that's an option. You're going to come up with your own options that work very well for you. So Patty, go ahead and roll us up to the next slide. All right, we talked about defining success, our club visits, and communication. You guys did ask some questions, but maybe something else has popped up. And I don't know, I think Laura may have mentioned it, but I'm not sure that I said during the meeting, at the end of the meeting, you want to meet with some of the officers. And I had that in my notes, but I don't think I said it out loud, and it's not on the PowerPoint. So make sure that you schedule that where possible, so that even if you're on Zoom, you have 20 minutes, if you can get 20 minutes out of them, so that they know ahead of time, hey, after this meeting, I'm going to end up chatting with you about this. So does anybody have any questions on that? All right. So how can I succeed in the area director role? Here are some more suggestions. And we've touched on some of this. Use your style and your strengths. I'm going to actually jump down to the last item on this list, because this was actually a suggestion that was shared with me by someone I consider a great mentor. And that was, your area director role is a service to those clubs. And if you think about it that way, then it becomes a joy to serve in this role. There are so many benefits that you get out of this. And if you just put that service hat on, you may find that serving in this role just really helps you grow so much, and you benefit from it. So I wanted to throw that one out, because that I've been thinking about that a lot. Use your style and strengths. When are you comfortable? I talked a little bit about personality types and such. I'm an introvert. So how many of you feel that you're an introvert? Okay, so we've got a few folks who are saying yes. So you have to figure out, how can I bring my introversion to this role to end up having it be an asset? Because it is an asset. But you think about, I'm more comfortable sitting with a good book, listening to music at the end of a crazy day. There are people who want to be around a lot of people at the end of a crazy day because that for them gives them energy. So you've got to think, where am I comfortable? And how can I bring that to this area director role? And you may already have the answer to that, but just think about it for a little while so that you can consider it and make it a decision, a conscious decision. Okay, we also talked about, oh my gosh, I don't even have my own club in my area this year, and going to the first meeting is going to be a challenge. Confidence is something that you need to convince yourself that you have. You're all on this call. You've all been doing Toastmaster things. And you don't have to have a big ego to feel confident, especially if you're serving in this role with the service focus. You are confident that what you are going to do is help these clubs. It's going to help your whole area. It's going to help all the way up your division, your district, and it's going to help those people. So be confident of that. Here you are, you're an amazing group. And just remind yourself, because you can do it, and just have that feeling of confidence. And you'll be surprised at how much easier that club visit will go for you. On the flip side is humility. You can be confident and humble at the same time, right? You don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. Rick doesn't have all the answers, but we all know that we can find them. We can get them. And you want to go into that meeting with those clubs with a little bit of humility so that they're not worried, oh my gosh, this person is coming to grade us. Think about that when you're doing that visit. The other thing, during this training, we've already worked on this dependence on others. Laura has got us all excited about that spreadsheet that she and Linda are going to work on and get out to everyone. We're dependent upon the other area directors. We're dependent upon the members in our clubs. We're dependent upon our division director. We're dependent upon the trio and all the other leaders in District 11. And we're dependent upon the members in our own clubs, whether or not we are an area director for our club or not, because you will find as you're doing something in this area director role, oh my gosh, I need XYZ. And you're going to turn to whoever it is, your support, and they are going to come and help you. Another thing I encourage is delegation. I stink at delegation. I'm trying to get better. And in fact, I just had a great opportunity today, earlier today. I volunteer at Stillwater's Adult Day Center once a month. I do crafts with them, and I've been coordinating that. I'm going to miss the next one. And we're making wind chimes with these folks. The group got together today. We figured out how to do it, and they're going to handle it. And I'm not freaking out. Delegation can be a good thing, we have to remember that. Laura, you had your hand up?
Yeah, one of the things you had mentioned about everybody being excited about this report that Linda and I are going to do. I must warn everybody, at least on my part, I'm going to the convention next week. So I'm not going to be able to even really, I may be able to work on it before I go, but it's kind of doubtful because I'm trying to get everything, all my little ducks in the row so I can leave town for a week. And so when I get back, of course, I'm going to have to go and, give CPR to some of the ducks and get that taken care of. So it's probably going to be almost the end of the month, but I am going to send a copy of what I'm starting with to Linda so she can get an idea on what I was seeing and she can have possibly some ideas. So after I get back, we can discuss this is what maybe we should do here, there, and whatever. But I think that that's going to be something that, like I say, I found that it worked really well. And even taking it to the meeting myself, where they didn't send it to me, I could go through and use that and it'll answer all my questions that are in the report for the most part. So, but anyhow, I just thought I would warn everybody ahead of time.
Thanks, Laura. I totally get it. And I think basically what you're talking about doing later when you're able to do it is translating Toastmasters to English, but putting it in a workable format for you guys. I think that's great. And again, that's the whole concept of, depending on one another, it's great. I've talked about delegation and connections. I encourage you to reach out and talk about things that have worked for you. I know there are a few people in this group who have been area directors already. Reach out to others, reach out to the officers in District 11, make connections. And then within your area, the connections that you make, you're going to find somebody who has a skill that would just be perfect for another thing in Toastmasters that's going on, or maybe something that has nothing to do with Toastmasters. Yeah, kind of, okay, networking, connections. There are so many ways to look at it. But I encourage you to really benefit from connecting up with one another. You're going to have to find out if that person wants a text or an email, but you got the idea. And then I talked about service focus. Let's hop over to administration. We talked a little bit about going out online, downloading the information for the club. I cannot send this out to anyone unless I empty it out. I could potentially do that, but I created spreadsheets, especially the second time around. I was much better at it, where I had a tab for each club's membership. And then I also put columns that were, have I done the first visit, the second visit, the club contest, all those things into a spreadsheet. Now, will that work for everybody? No, because we're different. Somebody else may say, well, that wouldn't work for me. And that's okay. But find the way to keep track of everything so that you know what percentage of area director club visits you still have left to do, for instance. Another one is plan ahead. You all know that. I'm telling you things you already know. But with Gina's situation where I can't go to this club, she's not going to wait until the end when November 30th, was it? And say, oh, I didn't go there. She's already thinking about who can I get to go visit that club so that I can get this report in on time. And the trio is all excited because our area reports are all in. I remember actually there were announcements for which area got their reports done before anybody else. So maybe Gina's going for that, who knows? Planning ahead is a challenge for some people. For others, they live for it. I have to put things on my calendar or I forget. My mom was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Her mom had it and her mother's mother had it. Guess who's probably going to be coming up with it next? So I have to do some of these things just to make sure I don't drop the ball. So planning ahead is really very helpful because you're juggling more than just your own life going to Toastmasters. You're juggling things for a lot of other people right now. And the tie-in with that is be flexible. Gina's being flexible. She's saying, I can't do that. Can I find somebody else to do that? Laura says, I don't like how this form works. I'm going to try to figure out a way to do it myself so that I can get the information from the clubs because they're not real comfortable right now in trying to answer this. I know I'm telling you things you already know, but you're being reminded. I put electronic tools on there because that's what the world is now. But think outside the box. Is there an electronic tool that you could use specifically for this role? I think that there is a website called Doodle that allows you to figure out what is the best day and time for 7 people to meet. You set it up, you give some options, and you send it out. Now, obviously, the clubs already have that day and time of when they meet. But maybe you're trying to plan a speech contest or work with a committee. That's a tool. And I recommend if you have an idea of what you want to do and are looking for a tool, check with somebody's son or daughter who's in their 20s, or maybe their teens, and ask them for suggestions. There are so many things that you can do. The spreadsheet is an electronic tool, but it's not quite the same, I think, as some of these others. And pen and pencil tools. Old school, I know, but if it works for you, do it. Chart things out. Use graph paper instead. And come up with here's how I think this will work the best. Now, throw out some questions for these things or anything else we've talked about. Does anybody have some questions that we haven't addressed yet? Rick.
It's not really a question. I just want to make a couple of practical comments, especially relating, before we leave this subject. The area director reports, there's certain things you need to be careful about because the moment you key it into the system, your area director gets a copy, I get a copy, and the president of the club gets a copy. So if you put something in there that is not nice, let's put it that way, it becomes apparent immediately to that club and can destroy your relationship with that club. So I recommend generally for the area directors, when they have a situation like that, if they don't want to write it down because of that, that's the time to make a separate person-to-person discussion with maybe the president of the club. But the other hand of that is, I don't like to see, I personally find it difficult to deal with an evaluation that said everything is excellent and outstanding in the club, and they only have 4 members. It's not really an evaluation we're doing. We have to find a way to help that club be active and successful. So you can't just gloss over things either. But I kind of think of it a little bit in evaluation mode. If, for example, someone's giving a speech and you're evaluating them and they have, I don't know, some food dangling in their hair or something, you probably aren't going to say that during the evaluation, but you might take that person aside and say, hey, listen, you just got some schmeg in your hair or something you might want to take care of. So you got to walk that tightrope. One other thing I'd like you to do is when someone else is doing the club visit for you, the generally best practice, in my opinion, is you give that, you personally key in the club visit report and add a sentence or two at the beginning that says this club visit was actually done by person X. And that way, when I get it, I will know who's really involved and who's doing the evaluation. If there's something I have some questions in, I'll probably go to the area director and to the person that actually did the visit. And then one other note, as far as I know, there's no way for you to do anything except to manually key the area director visit into the system. So you can do all the notes in whatever way you want. You're going to have to go to that area director visit form online and fill it in online. If somebody else knows some other way to do it, I wish you'd let me know. But insofar as I know, those are the 3 things I just wanted to mention. Keep in mind who's seeing the report. Make sure they're accurate without insulting anybody. Make the identification of the visitor, and you have to do manual data entry at the end of everything.
Thanks, Rick. And I love the reminder that other people are going to be reading this and think about that when you're typing it in. When I worked in IT, we had some users who were a challenge, and somebody had opened a ticket and the person typed in, I think they called it the ID10T code, which you type it in and it's idiot. And the person saw that. So you have to remember to write a report that it would be okay for your mom to know that you wrote that report. Or your dad, or whoever, somebody that you respect. And I just took a look at a handwritten note that I had written down, and this goes back to the administration type thing. Make the job smoother in your style. Figure out a way to work the job in your style. What are some other questions related to this?
I just also wanted to add that it's also the opportunity to not tell the clubs what they need, but to ask them what they need. Ask them what help they think they need in the club, because oftentimes they'll know that they need some help. And this is an opportunity for not only you to help them if you have the tools in your toolbox, but also to bring that information back to us, to your division director and to the district director, to see how can we as the district help really, put some things in place so that we can help more clubs. If we see, more and more clubs are asking for help with pathways or help with membership or help with whatever, that we really want to get that information bubbled up so that we can put together programs to help the clubs.
Thank you, Patty. Yeah, I think if you think about that you're doing, quote, a general evaluation on the club, helping them find opportunities to improve, as well as given some attaboys for things that the club is doing well. That's Toastmasters is all about doing that balance, and you're going to continue that with this as well. Any other comments or questions at this point?
Stephanie, it's Linda. I kind of made a point that it was intimidating doing the area director visits, but if there's any new time area directors, it was actually kind of fun. It was really great getting to meet everybody. And one of the clubs was Boiler Talks, and they're a grad student group at Purdue. And they were so eager for me to be there. And they had so many questions, and they wanted me to be general evaluator. And they just really valued me. And so it was a real boost for me to be there with these young kids. And one of the things they didn't, you were talking about communication earlier, and they were like, we're not getting communication. And I'm like, wow, I feel like we're getting all kinds of communication, but maybe Purdue's email was blocked, or I don't know why they weren't, but they had a group email with their club, Boiler Talks. And once I had that, like I was pumping them with all kinds of emails for them to get. But anyway, it's a great experience, and I'm glad to be area director.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, that's interesting. And you're right, there's the junk mail and whatever else, and some people don't get those. Well, let's go ahead and hop on to the next screen. And this is related to resources. These are not your only resources. There are a lot of other resources available. But I just wanted to remind you, when you're working on various tasks as an area director, there are so many people who want to see you succeed and are willing to help you. You've got your District 11 director leaders, other area directors. You all are seeing one another, and I'm sure that there's a list that you will be able to access to reach out to one another. Is there anyone who does not have a connection to District 11 Facebook? I'm seeing no hands. Oh, Linda, you might not.
Sorry, I'm not real Facebook savvy. I don't do a lot with Facebook, but I do get on the website, the D11 website. That
Okay,
Patty
all
put
right.
together. So, yeah.
But you're aware of the Facebook location, but you're good at getting out to the website, and that's good.
Yeah.
I am not the strongest when it comes to social media. My husband had to let me know the other day that there was something that someone had posted to me, and I'd better go check it out.
Yeah.
But I'm the VP of PR this year for my club, so I'm gonna have to be learning a little bit about social media. So yes, I mentioned Facebook, and you brought up the website, which is the next thing on my list. The website has a lot of good information. They have been working very hard to add things to make it more logical, readable, and getting that information out there. There's also a calendar out there, and then I think there's a specific calendar that's going to be especially for officers and for District 11 leaders like you, that will have, here are the things that you need to know about. I remember getting those before, where it'll tell you your area needs to do this contest within these dates, or your clubs need to do these contests within these dates. and we're gonna have this training or this thing available. So be on the lookout for that, because I think it's in process right now.
I have a question. I know last year when I was putting my contest together, it was really great that I think Patty, there were different ways on the Toastmaster website that you could, or the D11, ask for help at your contest and then also volunteer to help. And that was valuable to me. I would send those links out to people all the time. But what really helped is one of the district meetings I went to, and honestly, Rick brought it too. I don't know the difference, but I went to one. I became area director very late in the year because I don't remember why. Was there a realignment last year too? But I think it was in October. So I missed this training here. So there was a brief training that I went through maybe, but in that group, I said, I need help at my area. I need judges. I need this. And so many people volunteered. It made me want to cry because we're such a volunteering group. We're such a service kind of people. So helping the area directors do good speech contests, somehow we need to be able to cross the lines of our own division and get the word out. And I don't know if there's a good way to do that, just word of mouth or in meetings. But that's something that I think would be very helpful.
Patty, do you want to make a comment on that, or Rick?
Well, I can just say that, yeah, when it comes to the contests, there is a plethora of help in various things. There's actually, last year, there was a certified judge list of people outside of our district that made themselves available should you want some more judges. So there's lots of opportunities for help. The only thing I will say is that you must ask. You must let people know you need help and don't wait till the last minute because there's lots of help available. And we will go over speech contests at our next 2-hour training. So we will go over in detail the tools that I put together so that it made it simple and easy for everybody, and different ways to manage things that are the simplest and easiest, and you can choose to do things the hard way if you want, but it's not necessary. So we will have a whole section on that coming up.
Thank you. Let's see, let's hop up. Oh, and Patty did mention that there's LinkedIn for District 11 as well. And Diane,
Yes, so if you are on LinkedIn, please look for us on LinkedIn. I can send you the link if you want, but if you go to the website, the links are all right there.
Excellent.
So I'll answer the contest. Will the contest be in person next year? I believe the trio, and Rick, you could speak to this if that has been decided yet, whether it will either be hybrid or all online. Do you know? Has that been decided?
You all will get to vote on what type of contest we have at the district council meeting on September 10th. However, International is only giving us 2 choices, virtual or hybrid. And all area contests have to be the same of those choices. All division contests have to be the same of those choices. And then the district has other slightly different choices. But so that information and that options will be put up to vote by district council members.
That's excellent. Did you hear it here first?
It's the benefit of being an area director.
Excellent. Yes, and then you can reach out to your clubs and say, this is the plan. We have to vote. You can be a representative democracy.
I just want to mention, just so sure this, I didn't mention the club level. Club level is completely up to the club.
Oh,
You never have to have a contest. You can just appoint people if you want to. You can do a full contest. It can be in person. It can be whatever you want. It's a club. So there's no international oversight to that as long as you're following other contest protocols. And we'll look at that, as Patty has said, in the next session.
Great, thank you. All right, let's take a quick look at some of the resources that are the TI, actually the TI office, you can call them, as well as the TI website. And then you want to get comfortable out in Leadership Central. Patty had pulled up some of that earlier. There are district leader tools where you will be able to pull information about your club, etc. And make sure you're comfortable using that. Then you have the division and area director training materials. Okay, so you will have spent 2 hours with me and your closest friends here. And then you're going to get back and you're going to say, oh, I forgot to ask this. And there is information out there, and that's the official training information. I reached out to a few people after I had put this together who had been a TRIO member a number of years ago. And there was some comments about, oh my gosh, that was 8 hours of training. And so I'm sure that there is something that we're missing here. And if you don't feel like reaching out to this group, which you know you can do, you can always poke around out there, and maybe you can be the trainer for the area directors next year. Think about that. The club visit form, that was the link that I think Linda or Diane, somebody found it and put it out into the chat as well. And again, it would be lovely. I guess you could create a PDF by just doing a print if that works. I don't know, but that's something you guys are working on figuring out that will make your lives at least a little bit easier. But if you talk to people who were area directors before, I believe that this one is much easier to complete. So there was an improvement, even though it might still be a little bit frustrating. Are there, so I guess next slide, please, Patty. Are there any questions or any comments? I'm fine with comments related to what we just talked about with resources. Any suggestions or volunteers as well? All right. So I also found some notes that I had that I should have mentioned earlier. And this is from that website with the area training. And it says that well-trained area directors are equipped to develop successful teams, enhance club quality, establish and support new clubs, conduct quality speech contests, and thrive in the district recognition program. So that's just a reminder because I didn't say it earlier. And I love the word thrive. And I think you guys are all working toward that thriving. So let's go ahead, unless somebody has comments or questions. Let's go ahead to the next slide, which is almost the last slide. So be thinking, what is next? You've taken this training. There are future training opportunities. Patty mentioned it. There's holding the contest, and I believe Lou is available to do some info on expense and reimbursement, as well as some other things that if I didn't do it and you need training on it, there needs to be training. And then, so here, a number of years ago, another mentor suggested, after you're done with the training session, you want to have people think about what they're going to do next. I handed out Post-it notes and I made everybody write on their Post-it, okay, after this training, what are you going to do that you learned in here? What are you going to learn? And then I suggested that they put them on their shirt so they're walking around with other people and they have to answer, tell people. So that's what I'm throwing out at you. Who will you contact to buddy with? You can look around in the Zoom, or maybe you're aware of someone else who has taken this on, or maybe somebody who was in this role before. Think about, again, this is not a lone wolf job. You don't want to try to do it on your own. So figure out who you're going to connect with. What administrative steps are you going to take first? And you can't count the Laura and Linda spreadsheet. You have to figure out something on your own that you're going to do that will help make your job a little smoother. What supplies are you going to take with you to your club visits? And see, I'm still in the, you got to go there physically. Well, you don't have to go there physically, but you have to have some things that you can share with the club when you go to visit them. The other thing that I absolutely love, and I don't know if they still have them, are those little red, yellow, and green cards that are all spiral bound with, there's another one that's got a flag. Make sure you've got that. Think about what would you take to your own club meeting, and then what else would you take as an area director? So be thinking about that. All right. When you get off this Zoom, you're going to put some things on your calendar to remind yourself, oh, I'm going to go schedule my club visit with this club that I haven't heard from yet. Or I'm going to put the district council meeting, the DEC meeting, on my calendar because Rick already said it's the 10th of September. You might already have it out there, I don't know. But think about what things you're going to put on your calendar that will help you in this role. And see, I put, I don't know if it's a district council meeting or a DEC meeting, because I'm thinking it's a DEC meeting on the 10th of September. I added that with the question mark because I didn't know for sure, but since Rick said it, that's good. Now you guys have the info. Have you signed into Leadership Central yet? And maybe some of you have done it tonight during this training while you were listening to me with one ear and typing in some things to check it out. And then think about, where do you need to stretch your comfort zone the most for this role? Do you need to get more organized? Do you need to become more flexible? Think about that. Think, what do I need to do that I'm not excited about or I'm nervous about? Think about that and figure out how you're going to get around that, because I have faith in you guys. I think you're going to do well. And then think about which clubs you're going to visit in person. You know, it's kind of easy to sit with your dog at your feet, but you can't do all your club meetings that way. And then what goals have your club set? think about your own club, your own personal club that you attend and you're a member of. Does that club have its goal set? That would be a great thing to be able to use that example when you talk to your area club. Do I have any more comments, questions? And really, anything that we talked about tonight is fair game. And I don't know if you've been clock watching, but we still have 15 minutes. I'm going to make you stay. Oh, well, maybe not. What questions or comments do you have? Laura?
I'm going to have to say, Stephanie, you have done an outstanding job in doing this. It was a very daunting task to begin with. You've put it together extremely well, been able to point out so many of the things that the area directors do need to do. And even though you haven't done it for a little while, it really hasn't changed that much. In some ways, it's got easier. In other ways, it's kind of where you have to deal now with the virtual meetings and the in-person meetings and those kinds of things. But you have really done a very, very good job on this. And it's nice that it's been recorded so the other area directors or even division directors, because I noticed there was a division director also attending, they can go and use it for their use. But you've addressed so many really good things and a couple of things that I didn't even think about, like, oh yeah, that's important. Thank you very much for taking your time to do this.
Well, thank you, Laura. And you guys have been amazing with all your suggestions and your comments, because there were some things that I wasn't aware of or hadn't thought of. So again, it was a group thing. It was a team effort. There is a question about a time on the council meeting, Rick, on the 10th.
Yeah, there will be a formal notice. The formal notice has to be out before the 10th of this month.
But probably in the morning, right?
I don't quite frankly remember. It's more likely to be in the evening.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if 10th is a Saturday, then it's more likely to be in the morning. I just don't.
That's in 2
don't know
days.
Say again?
The 10th is in 2 days.
September 10th.
Yeah, but-
September 10th.
But
This
the
is
notice,
still August, good news.
the notice of the meeting has to go out a certain time in front of the actual meeting. So I think it's the 10th of this month that the notice.
Rick, it shows 10:30 on the website on events.
10:30 in the morning. Well, the website is the place to go. So you did the right thing. It's at 10:30 in the morning. Is that a morning on a Saturday morning?
Yeah, it's at 10:30 on a Saturday.
So now you heard the
There
real
you go.
story.
Heard it here first. Oh, maybe not. Okay, does anybody have any questions or requests? Okay, be thinking about what you learned tonight and write it on your Post-it. What's the next thing you're going to do, or actually go out and do that thing. And then Patty, if you want to pop the next slide in. Again, you have my contact information. And email is my preferred method. I will say that. And then my understanding is when Patty closes down this Zoom, there will be an opportunity for feedback. It'll pop right up. You won't have to get up and go anywhere. You can just type in to your heart's content. And again, before we stop, because you have 11 minutes left, is there anything that you need to ask or state, whatever, to the rest of the group? Toastmasters are not quiet. What's going on here? Oh, yes, I'm a morning person. So Patty was kind enough to have this start at 6:30 instead of 7. That's why the time, because I said, oh, I can't start at 7. But now I'm like weird, silly, energetic. Well, thank you for this opportunity to serve you. I appreciate the feedback. I'm glad this was helpful. And I look forward to seeing you sometime either in person or in a hybrid or on Zoom again.
Thank you,
you.
Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I would also like to let everybody know this particular training was actually put together between Patty and yeah, well, really between Patty and her group. She put everything together, got everyone lined up, and then Patty and Stephanie really put it together. So we should all appreciate them for that.
Well,
Stephanie deserves all the big applause because she did the heavy lifting.
all right, I'm going to go on the front porch and watch the storm roll in. So, ta-ta.
Have fun. Sounds
Please,
good.
please, do the survey when you go out, okay? And I'm gonna stop recording here.